Hello everyone, it is the Redmen Podcast. We are back for another week, a week where we look down the barrel of basically 3 weeks off from football, but we go into it having won consecutive games, which feels like a dreamland, which sounds so pathetic when you think about it. But yeah, look, beggars can't be choosers. Where we are not beggars and where, of course, we can be choosers is in our selection of people on the show today. I've got the wonderful Ben Kelly with me in the studio. Callum Sanderson joins us and Ross Chandley as well. A fantastic panel to get through all of our topics of conversation today. We're going to have a kick-off question in a minute. We're going to be talking about the break and what that might mean for some of the Liverpool squad. And do a couple of bits and pieces that are going on around that as well. Then we're going to be looking ahead to Friday's Champions League draw, which of course we are in the pot for the quarter-finals, 4 games away from Istanbul. The kick-off question, Ben?
I've just read it. It's a scorcher. Blinking heck.
Yeah. There was some. I want to put that. There were some terrible entries this week for our kickoff question. Terrible. I need everyone to up the game for next week. But Ben Mitchell has smashed it here. Saved the entire podcast. Says, would you rather never be allowed to leave the city of Liverpool ever again, not being able to travel anywhere, or never be allowed to enter Liverpool again, but you can travel anywhere else you want in the world whenever you want?
That is a tough question. And I think, obviously, as a massive wool, I'm going to answer this question completely differently to how most other people are. Yeah. My overriding initial question is, can people come to me? Because none of my family live in Liverpool. Yeah. I don't know if that changes my answer. That's really hard. Probably the latter, and I will get ripped to bits by locals for that. Yeah. But just because, I like other places. There's probably nowhere that I like just as much as Liverpool. Yeah. But you know how it is. You end up being... Everywhere needs a break from where they are eventually. You know what I mean? Like, you've often spoken about like how it was good. You went to university in Sheffield. It's good to get out and good to do that. Just being confined to the same... It doesn't matter that it's a city. Yeah. If you're being confined to the same 4 walls of anything, I think I've come to the conclusion that's probably not as good as being able to just go anywhere. Yeah,
life's very much like a late 90s, early 90s interpretation of what an open world game is. It's like we've got a fully open world game. Have we though? Why can't I walk over that bridge in GTA 3 if it's an open world? And that's what we're like. Ross Chandley, never be allowed to enter Liverpool or never be allowed to leave Liverpool?
I think I will have to follow Ben's footsteps with several points that he made him that. Yeah, A being Wool, B a man who lives by himself. He's been confined to 4 walls for the past fucking year. I've not had an epiphany. I don't want to get out and see the world because I really can't be arsed and I don't like people. But having said that, I would like the option just to kind of have it there. And also, family, my daughter, I want to be able to go see those people. So my answers are limited in that sense. But that's taking nothing away from Liverpool.
What happens if I try and leave? Do I just get reset? Is it like some kind of, you die and you respawn and it's just...
Yeah. You just bounced back in.
Is it like the Hex in One Division?
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going with that. Yeah. There's definitely something to that. Callum, what are you saying?
For me, it'd be London, wouldn't it?
Well, let's focus on Liverpool. Let's say this because obviously because this is why I think it's an interesting thing, because these two are close enough to Liverpool that it's not a special thing. You're far enough away that it would be a novelty for you at this point to be able to come up and visit Liverpool. So go on. Are you happy just with away games for the rest of your life?
No, I wouldn't be. I need to get out to Liverpool. I miss it. I miss Liverpool.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
If my family watch this, I'm going to get I miss Liverpool.
No, it's fair to do that. I kind of following on from what the lads have said. I've had this thing where I've spent the most time consecutively probably in the city. In a year, I've spent more time in Liverpool this last year than I have done since I was probably 17, and that's a long time ago, by the way. So yeah, there is a little part, but equal simultaneously, I've seen less of Liverpool in that time than I probably would have done in a normal year, because it's not like you go into town, and it's not like you're going around random places. We've been far more limited in what we've been able to do, but I have a little thing where I feel so contained. It's a tough, because I mean, No, I wouldn't like to make this decision before. I'd like to be able to go to Anfield one more time before I made this decision. But again, we're in this lockdown world, just being able to go and see other cities. Yeah. Like I was happy to stay. I gave up. I made an effort to go to lesser ways last season because I'd done so many and been so away from my young family for so long. So I was focused on the home games and stuff. Whereas now I miss just being on a crap EasyJet flight and sprinting across airports and sweating me bollocks off because we've had to scrimp and save every penny. So we've got the cheapest flight, which requires you to get across the world's biggest airport in 40 minutes. I haven't got,
Me and Tom did that last year. We were on the way to Naples. We had to stop off in Munich and we had 10 minutes to go from one side of the airport to the other. Legged it and got there and the flight was delayed.
Yeah. Nightmare.
Classic.
I would happily, right now,
I would happily
get back to that world. Just being able to go and see
I suppose if nothing else, this year has taught us how all of that can just be so quickly taken away. Just to the extent, like, I very nearly didn't go to the Atletico game, and like, even though of what's unravelled since, it's like, well, I'm so glad I did, because that would have been it. Yeah. I would have taken the opportunity I would have not taken the opportunity to go. And looking back now, I'd have been going, I don't care that we lost. I just, and that's how quickly you know change.
Laugh, love, or whatever, as those B&M prints would have you believe. You've got to take every moment. Oh yeah. It's on. It's definitely on like a print on me in the downstairs loo at my mum's house. So yeah, we've got. Well, I can pick one of them. But yeah, it's right. You've got to enjoy your moments where you can. I'd be happy to give Liverpool a break, but I don't know whether I could give it up for life. And I'd have to take my family with me, which has got its own pros and cons. Right, Sam, we're going to be back. We're going to be delving into Liverpool's upcoming break and the Champions League draw as well, and what we think ahead of all of that. But yes, we're going to take a very short break. We've got a fantastic documentary that is streaming right now on the RMTV.com. It is 1 year on since the aforementioned Atletico game. Really, really powerful piece put together by the man next to me, Mr. Ben Kelly. Have a little look at this. We were football fans going to a football match, and our job was to go there and support the team.
Is a red raw Colosseum.
The mystery virus started here in the city of Wuhan.
I'm speaking to these people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home.
Who is to blame for that game going ahead?
2,500 Atletico Madrid fans coming in, bringing virus with them.
2 weeks later, the death rate absolutely rocketed.
He shoots again and scores again!
Imagine quite how deadly and how life-changing it's going to be.
Many more families are going to lose loved ones before their time.
And that was bad to so many bodies.
There's really a serious thing that's going on now.
Somebody fucked up, and somebody should be held accountable. Yes. Welcome back. Yeah, head over to the RedmenTV.com. Sign up. We've got 2 tiers over there now where you get access on both tiers to all of the content we do, which is in video and a lot of it in podcast form as well, particularly the stuff around the matches. But yeah, we've got a load of amazing documentary content, some new series to keep you entertained, particularly with this break coming over. We've got 3 weeks to our Liverpool game. How are you going to fill that? Well, look back at some of the greatest times, some of the greatest players, some in-depth interviews with Liverpool legends, past and present. And yes, if you really want a hard-hitting, powerful documentary about the knock-on impacts of the coronavirus and what not cancelling that game of football meant for the city of Liverpool, then check out Liverpool vs Atletico 1 year on streaming right now on the RedmenTV.com. We've also got, if you want to sign up as a club legend or upgrade to club legend over on there as well, there was a competition to win a signed Luis Suarez print. More details will follow at the end of the podcast, so stay tuned for that. Ben.
Hello.
Hi, good work again, by the way. It's basically 3 weeks off. The Arsenal game's been moved to the Sunday now as well, which we now know, so it's another extra day of preparation for the Reds for that one. Klopp's talked about it. We've got internationals to come next week. This week is being treated as a normal week for them. They're going to be in training because we've got Champions League games tonight, Champions League games tomorrow, and then there's FA Cup fixtures, which we'll talk a little bit about later on. But yeah, ultimately, whether the lads are off or whatever, and most of them won't be off in any sort of traditional sense. What it is, it's in terms of domestic football, it's a time to train. It's a time for maybe a bit of team bonding. It is a little bit of a rest from the likes, let's say Roberto Firmino, for example. It will be. This is the staging area now. you've got 3 weeks to get yourself ready for the rest of the season.
This is it now. This is the slog between now and the end of the season. It would have absolutely reeked of a warm weather training camp if they were allowed to.
Oh, yeah, it would have been all that.
Think of all the bike riding pictures that we would have got from Marbella. I mean,
stolen from us by COVID.
But yeah, no. So I think this is a really, really good thing, and whether and it would have been a good thing whether for different reasons, depending on whether we'd lost or won last night. Kind of for the same reason, but I think now we've got the opportunity to just sort of take a breath. We've won 2 important games there. That those results aren't going anywhere. They're not going to be taken away from us. We've got 3 weeks now to reset and to sort of take time to plan and to build on that. You know, the flip side of it, you know, if we'd lost last night, even after the win against Leipzig, it would have been right, okay, but we've got 3 weeks now to really get it out of our system. Yeah. But we're in a much better position having lost that game. You know, I still think top four is a tall order, but I think that, you know, having such a long gap now allows us to plan it, allows us to recuperate, and who knows if, you know, if we can go on a bit of a winning streak now and win 3 or 4 in a row. You know, I'm still not convinced that Leicester aren't starting to creak a little bit. Mm-hmm. You know, I'd be eyeing up them or Chelsea and thinking we can catch them if we can just. I know it's easier said than done because like we've got so used to it over the last couple of seasons, and we've been used to the ones looking down at the top 4 race and going, God, nobody seems to want it. If any of them just happened to string a run of games together where they won, then they'd be walking it. Yeah. Now we're in that situation where we're still saying that just about ourselves, and it would be wonderful if we could just simply do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and this is what it's done, isn't it, Callum? You know, Liverpool, by just winning a couple of games of football, have allowed us all to kind of get into this little break here. We'll take a deep breath. We'll have a couple of days where we feel a massive sense of relief and relaxation, and then our appetite for the game will grow again. Whereas, you know, a week earlier, there was a lot of people just walking away from football. You know, people stopping watching the games. People talk about not being able to watch for the rest of the season, and, you know, just going through the motions for the rest of the campaign, just starting to talk about next season, starting to talk about the summer. But Liverpool have given us a little bit of hope, and, you know, I know they say that it's the hope that kills you, but if you've got no hope, there is no point in having the football. So, you know, we've got that, and again, as we say, it gives us 3 weeks worth of positive conversations.
Precisely. I think the worst thing that could have happened to us right now is if we went into this break on the back of a loss, especially if we had a poor performance as well, because we would have had so many weeks of people just dissecting what went wrong and why we're in this position, and top 4 would have completely been out of the question. Like, if I'm going to be honest, top 4 at this point is a very, very tall order. Yeah, but it's not impossible. And I mean, we did a show last night straight after the game, and like I was like, yeah, it's a great result, but top 4's not happening. And like people in the comments were like, we're only 5 points off Chelsea, and I was like, it's actually not as far off as I thought. And granted, again, we still have to put a run together, in Chelsea we'd have to slip up a few times, but it just changes the dynamic, and I'm so happy the boys won yesterday.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it, isn't it? Ross, it's, as mentioned there, the table still doesn't make particularly pleasant reading because it's not in our hands, and also we're still on unsteady ground. We've won a game in the league. That's not form. That's just that, but that is the first step towards form. You can't go on a run without winning your first game. You know, we chatted about this on the Final Word show, which is out for YouTube members and subscribers to the website right now, by the way. About just the international break in some respects coming at a bit of a wrong time, but we won't know, will we, until we get to that Arsenal game. And if Liverpool come back off it, you've got 2 home games there. You've got Arsenal and you've got Aston Villa. Our home form is abysmal. If we can come back off this and turn that form around, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, and as someone who made that point, I'm going to argue with myself. Look at it in a positive light of, it's almost a time for reflection for some of these players as well. The past 2 months have been absolutely terrible, and we've been shit up until the last 2 games. And you take it to a human element, and this probably applies for the fans as well. You were saying before about people not wanting to kind of tune in. If you're in a work environment, we've all had it where, like, you know, work's been so shit, but it's been relentless at the same time, and it seems no end to it. Sometimes the best thing you can have is a break or a change of scenery. Yeah. So they might be, the players themselves might be looking forward to an international break and going, fucking hell, we're not playing Fulham, Burnley and Brighton for the next couple of days. You know, they're not getting a change because we can't go on holiday, we can't do anything else. So for them, the players, they might go, as we said with the Champions League, it's a different competition, it's something else. We'll turn it into a positive, make sure they go, okay, sound. You've got through that 2 months now. We've gone on those 2 games and won 2 games. Just remember that, and when you come back, you're all going to be refreshed. You're all going to seen different mates, seen different people. You're not into that same environment where the media's on you, like we're on them. All your teammates that you're looking around in the dressing room are all in a bad mood because you're all in this slog together.
Yeah.
So it can be a positive thing, and then, like you said, come back, reset yourselves, and then go, okay, Sam, we've been through all that shit now. Let's move forward. Yeah, no, absolutely, and what you've got now, I know we played the same side in the last 2 games, Ben, but what you've got there is you've got Diogo Jota's back now. That's good. And all of this, by the way, is predicated on Liverpool not having any more catastrophic injuries, which is not outside the realms of possibility. We understand that now. We've all made our peace with this. It's out of our control. But we are getting back to a world now where, like, we always talk about Barcelona because we should do, and the Barcelona game. What was that game? Well, that was a game where Liverpool were dead and buried, down and out, and we had a load of things go against us. So we start that game with Divock Origi and Xherdan Shaqiri in the front 3. Mm-hmm. Andy Robertson goes off at half time in that game, and other lads step up and make themselves heroes. And where I think we've struggled with motivation, and obviously we've also struggled with injuries, but you've now got a bunch of lads there who are reinvigorated because they've got from their own, because we've owned all these players of, okay, well, I'm not in the team today, but actually I know if I work my bollocks off in training, I'm fit and sharp, and I've seen what's happened with the injuries, and also I've seen what that could look like as well because of previous seasons gone by. You're not going to find lads who are slacking off in training now because, I know I'm not going to play. They know they are going to play. Yeah. The likelihood is these lads are going to get a game at some point down the line. So you're right, a little bit of a mental refresh for all of them, maybe a little bit of travel, a little bit of some more training or a little bit of rest or whatever, plus a clear laser-like focus on the remaining bank of fixtures, which could well, and it's up to them and how well they perform, some like era-defining European football as well. Yeah,
and hopefully that is the case. And this is all around having a squad depth and the benefits that come with that. I mean, if a Manchester City fan happened to be listening to this conversation, they'd be going, "Well, yeah, that's always what happens, isn't it?" You know what I mean? Like we've always got lads who are ready to step in with what you're talking about. But this is still a novelty to us, despite our attempts to try and bulk out the squad a bit and give ourselves options. Obviously, the way that the injuries have fallen for us this season have stopped us from doing that, but we seem to be getting into a little bit of a rhythm. Obviously we discussed on the Final Word on the website this morning, the centre-back partnership and how it's just nice to have 2 centre-backs starting 2 games in a row and come through that seemingly unscathed. And as they begin to build up a relationship, we as fans are going to grow more confident in them. And, I think Fabinho, we've talked about him a lot, but he's worth another mention, just how outstanding he's been in the last 2 games, because I feel like only he can give right now in the Premier League, only him in that position can give them the level of protection that they need. He's the absolute it's not even a debate. He's the best 6 in the league. Mm-hmm. And if we had anybody else in that position, we'd be a lot more defensively exposed. But the amount of tackles that he makes and the amount of interceptions that he makes and the reading of the game that he provides enough protection to make those 2 centre-backs look even better.
Yeah, no, completely agree. And speaking of the likes of Fabinho, Callum, we know that the Brazilians are not going to be travelling for international games during this window, which is it's such a bonus to us. Like, it shouldn't be underestimated. This obviously, look, the goalkeeper's been had some problems this season, and obviously he's had some personal issues as well. So it's not going to do him necessarily any harm just to spend a bit more, time at home or whatever with his immediate family. Fabinho has come back in again after a decent spell on the sidelines. It'll be good for him just to take stock, just to get himself back sharp again, and above all else, Roberto Firmino, who has become almost scapegoat number 1 amongst some Liverpool fans. People have forgotten just how good he can be, just how important, just how telling his contributions can be in big games. He needs this, and the focus on Firmino. We if we're to have any hope of doing anything this season, we need to make sure Diogo Jota's back and we need to get him up to speed, but we need to have those 4 forwards available to us for as many games as possible.
Yeah, precisely. Again, I'm over the moon that Fabinho, Ali and Firmino aren't travelling, especially Alisson. I do think we probably underestimate just how much the personal issues are probably affecting his life, and football's probably been a distraction for him as opposed to something that he's enjoying at the moment. I think sometimes, obviously, you have to grieve as well as get yourself back in gear. So hopefully he gets that time to spend with his family. in terms of Fabinho, you're right. The injuries have taken their toll on him this season, and obviously being flipped and flopped in different positions hasn't helped. But now it seems as though he's steady in the sticks, and he is, for me, he's actually the best six in the world, and he just changes the dynamic of how we play. He provides so much protection, but also it's going forward as well. He can receive the ball under pressure, he can turn, and he can pick out a good pass as well, which allows us to relieve some of the pressure on the back four and also get higher up the pitch. And then Firmino's a tough one because he's my favourite player, but I can be the first to say he's not been great this season. But we've always seen that when he has a little bit of a break, he comes back and he's a different player. So hopefully he can help. And again, many will say it should be Jota, Mane and Salah to start. That's fine, but you still need to have a bench as well. So if Bobby Firmino is ready and available to come on and help in the game, it's all more for it.
Exactly. This is the point, isn't it? You know, Ross, we need to get out of our heads this idea that it's 11 lads who are just going to put the foot to the floor now between now and the end of the season, because they will. But you're also where we've fallen flat, I think, this season is when you get to 60 minutes, when you get to 70 minutes, and because of the nature of the season, you know, without the pre-season thing, we've not been able to match our level of intensity. So what the plan was to use other top quality footballers to maintain that level. Like Man City have been able to do that. You know, you can see like Chelsea have got that up and running, you know, more evidently under Tuchel of late. They've got good players to bring in. That's what we need. And Bobby Firmino is an absolutely essential part of that, because it means that one of Salah, Mane and Jota are just being kept in reserve. They're being kept fresh. They are an exciting, pacey, direct goal-scoring option that you can bring on at some point in the game if you need to either kill a game off or chase something in a match.
Yeah, and that should have been the plan for the past 6 months, probably. You know, but in between injuries, and I think if you look at the minutes that players have played Liverpool, I think it's probably Gini, Robertson, the front three that probably played the most. If you know, that's a guess. But you know, that's also a reflection on the rest of the squad. Now, there's times where one of the front three might have been at 70%, probably less, and include Bobby Firmino. And this is why I agree with Callum. I think you'd like giving him another chance, let him have a rest, let him recuperate. There's opportunities there where Divock Origi should have been on, where Shaqiri should have been on the pitch. But one of the front three at 60-70% was better than what they were. So that's a reflection on those squad players as players. Yeah. But also, I know they affect our system. I know Mane at 70% was better Divock Origi on the left wing because he doesn't want to play there in his defence and not slating him and not slating Shaqiri. But at that point, you're not changing your system. You're not changing what everyone else's jobs are. You've got players who are trained in those roles, which were missing for the rest of the squad because we had no defence, we had no midfield. So you're going to fuck yourself even more by doing that. Now's got a chance going into the back end of the season where you can go 3 games a week, sound. You can play 2, you can play 1, and everything's fine, and you can maintain those levels. And I referenced the medical team, and you know they'll have the red zones, which we always kind of talk about when you can and can't play players. That's been in the bin for the past 6 weeks because there's been no one else. Just play 11 players. There's no one else. Yeah. Now they can do their job and earn their money as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you just on the minutes played thing, I think I covered this on a show last week, but in terms of minutes played across all competitions, Robertson, Salah, Wijnaldum, Mane, Trent, Alisson, Firmino, they're the big 7 in terms of who've played the most minutes for Liverpool. Then Fabinho just below that. And then this is the point of all this. You need to rest the lads who've played lots of footy, and also what you need to do is get the lads on the outskirts. Like Naby Keita is right down there. He's only played 703 minutes for us across all comps, you know, so far this year. It's him and it's Jota in particular. And again, I've said this elsewhere, but if you can get a tune out of Shimikas between now and the end of the season as well. And in addition, Curtis Jones has played a lot of football, so I'm not adding him into this. But that's what we're talking about. That's your squad, and that's how you attack, because you know we don't know what the league form is going to look like, Ben.
Yeah.
But we've got 2 massive Champions League games on the horizon, and potentially, you know, every game is going to matter in the Premier League. So there's no prioritising anything. We're going to need a squad for this running.
Yeah, and I think it depends what the league picture begins to look like over. But by the end of the quarterfinals, you know, hopefully we get a kind draw and we go through. But at the end of that, what do we look like in the league? because then it's about, if we are into the semi-finals of the Champions League, how do you manage that? Because I think we'd probably all agree that we're probably one more loss away from probably writing off top four. I felt that after Fulham, to be honest, but then the Wolves win and the results of the weekend kind of dragged me back in a little bit. But I do feel like we really are running out of chances now.
You can lose another game of football down a little bit further down the road, but psychologically, as much as anything else.
Yeah. So I think now, if you end up with yourself in a position where you really are out of the top four race, then unfortunately, it's not the way that you really want to be going about it. But like you're back into a position where, as you were maybe at the beginning of Klopp's reign, where you can use those games, that they become a free hit in a completely different way to last season, where you can be using those games to rotate and test things and things like that, because they don't matter. But then hopefully that's all fine, as long as running alongside it in the midweek is when we got the chance to come alive and go right hell for leather at hopefully a European Cup final in Istanbul.
Wouldn't it be lovely? Just interesting note that Ross, you pointed out to me, obviously, FA Cup games this weekend. It's mad because we've just been looking at our big empty calendar in the office, just staring at it like longingly, looking at 3 weeks without like intense, stressful Liverpool action. But as we've mentioned, there's Champions League games to be played, which we'll come on to in a moment. But there's also those FA Cup games of the weekends, and you're looking at Bournemouth, Southampton, and not really have an impact on us. But Everton, City, Everton having another game, having another focus. If they manage to get past Man City in that game, there's no way their primary focus doesn't turn towards the FA Cup. You've got Chelsea taking on Sheffield United, which you'd imagine they'll come away with, but again, it's another game. It's another game's exertion for Chelsea. And then Leicester, Man City. What you're looking at here is realistically at least 2, probably 3 of the teams that you're duking it out with potentially for those top spots are all got not just this extra game this weekend, but another one down the line as well.
I'm sorry too.
Ross.
Sorry. Yeah, there is that.
Remember how we were talking about the FA Cup?
You just mentioned me in passing conversation that I mentioned it. Seems directly to me. And also on that as well is the fact that, like Ben said, some of those teams have got to play each other. So at some point they've got to drop points on top of that as well. So this is a good opportunity for Liverpool, as I said before, to kind of get a rest and gather their thoughts. But other teams don't have that break, and particularly because their results are so up and down. I think Everton lost again at the weekend. A win against City, like you said, could have derail them a little bit more, and dent their confidence. And again, they're in the mindset that we've been in for the past 2 months ago. Oh my God, like we've got to go again. There's no end in sight. Then they go off on different breaks, and the players go everywhere else. So Liverpool just need to make the most of it. And the psychological thing we pointed out before was the biggest thing. Just all we can do at the moment is just pile pressure on people. That's all we can do at the moment, and I hope that the results go our way and that we continue to capitalise on it, because that's been a major flaw of Liverpool. Results have gone our way for other teams, and then we've just fucking lost games.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to test some knowledge if anyone's... Ben probably knows this, and this is not a slight on Ben, but you're just more switched on to these things. I'm going to ask Callum, because I don't know Callum's level of interest in these things. Do you know who England's upcoming games are against in this international break?
Oh, no, I'll be honest. I don't really follow England, if I'm going to be honest.
Good. Well done. Well done. You can stay. Sal,
I know.
Yeah. I don't.
I
do.
No
idea. Go on. Bulgaria. They always seem to play Bulgaria.
San Marino on the...
Fuck me, what a waste of time.
On the 20 is it the 26th?
Can you stop looking at your calendar while you're doing this? It's so obvious. Look at the lens of your webcam. Look at us.
I'm looking at you. San Marino on the 20-something and Poland on the 31st.
England. I said we've. I do occasionally dip into this. England, San Marino on Thursday the 25th. Albania versus England on Sunday the 28th, and then England Poland on would that be Wednesday? Dates well done, on the 31st of March.
And what are they? What are those games?
3 World Cup qualifiers.
So they're all 3 World Cup qualifiers. Because they got into this stupid habit for a bit where they'd have 2 World Cup qualifiers and then a random extra international friendly, and that would be the 3 games, which didn't make any sense.
3 games in 7 days for England, and they're all.
He's got a big enough squad to be rotating. I mean,
best fucking have to. I mean, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I mean, at least they're well qualified. If you told me they were friendlies, now I know it would almost be worth getting locked up for 10 years to riot about that. Because
San Marino in a World Cup qualifier. Come on, lads, why are you bothering?
I mean, I'm old enough to remember San Marino scoring a very wonderful early goal against England back in the 90s. Go on, Ross.
I just feel like I need to defend myself for actually knowing that. I had a conversation with Chris today, and that came up in conversation. So that's how I know.
Yeah. Just
we're not going to come up with you with pitchforks to get you off.
Honestly, mate, as a man who hates international football because it's boring as fuck, right? I feel like I need to defend myself.
Yeah.
Did you know Ross doesn't like international football?
Yeah, me thinks that the wool doth protest too much. Right. Yeah. I mean, I get it. Like, it's just Look, international football. I've had fun with international football in the past. I enjoy international tournaments to a degree. I don't get into chucking your bevy in the air, which was a thing in the last major tournament, which was a bit.
But I'd be buzzing if the Euros was hosted here in the summer. I'd be all over that.
Yeah, we've been talking about this before. Just getting to watch footy is a good thing. But yeah, at the moment, I'm not even sure. Like, I can't see a world that would draw me towards watching those games of footy in the break, other than praying that Liverpool players aren't involved. But I can do that via an app. I can look at lineups, go, no, yes, that's amazing, or squeeze it tightly in my fist when I see a Liverpool player being withdrawn due to injury, because that's all we can do at the moment. Yeah, I just thought it was interesting. Champions League draw coming up then. Callum, Duvet, brilliant. Juve, Dortmund. Not Duvet and Dortmund. PSG and us already through. Bayern and City look a little bit of a formality. Chelsea one up against Atletico, Real one up against Atalanta. Who for you are the teams that you are absolutely desperate for us to steer clear of in the draw?
So if you'd asked me a week ago, it would have definitely been Bayern Munich, City and Atletico. I'm going to stick with City and Atletico. City because they play in the same league as us and they're on fire this season. They look very good defensively and very good attacking wise. Atletico, for obvious reasons, their low block is it's a super low block, and we've struggled against basic low blocks. The reason I'm not going to say Bayern at the moment is because Bayern are a team that will come out and attack us. Now, granted, they've got Lewandowski, who's an anomaly, but defensively, they're not as strong as they have been in previous years. And I think you can get a Boateng and Alaba at centre-back. And I think we could cause them trouble on our day. So I don't want to avoid Bayern Munich at all costs, but Atletico and City I do.
The Bayern point, Ben, is interesting because it was just mentioned to us with the Leipzig stuff. People in the comments going, it was only Leipzig. Leipzig got a much better defence than Bayern Munich. Like, they've got a well better defensive record this season as well. So it stands to reason. I think they've got a better attack. They've got better pedigree. They've got all those things going for them. I don't think anyone would be thinking, yes, there's our place booked in the semis if you got Bayern in the next round. But it is a point. Atletico for me are the ones that, just because of that, we saw last season, they're just a nightmare of a team to play against.
I do think there's probably no shame in going out to Bayern either. If you go out and if we draw Porto, I think we'd all be going great. But then if you get knocked out by Porto, it's a bit, so at least if we play Bayern, I think Callum's right. I think we probably stand a better chance against them than we maybe even did a year ago in that in that mini tournament. And over 2 legs, obviously, we know better than anybody that there's always a second chance. And if you go out and lose the first leg, it's not over, yada yada yada. For me, I said to you the other day, I've mapped out what the perfect scenario is. I've figured it all out because they're doing the semi-final draw as well. What we want is Porto in the quarterfinals and the winner of Chelsea versus Dortmund in the semi-finals, and we want City, not Atletico because they're going to go out to Chelsea by that reckoning. City, PSG,
what did you
Real
map it
Madrid.
Out on?
In my head, you want City, Real Real Madrid, PSG and Bayern Munich all in the other side of the draw. Yeah. You want us, Porto, Dortmund and Chelsea in our side of the draw.
Oh, yeah.
We'll beat Chelsea. We'll go out and beat Chelsea in the semi-finals because I think they edge it over Dortmund. And then I'd take any of them 4 teams in a one-off game in a European Cup final, and then we lift number 7. It's that simple.
Yeah, just do that. That's it. Look, it's interesting. I love these conversations, genuinely. By the way, we're going to be doing a live stream for the draw on Friday, so if anyone wants to check us out for that, then please do. But yeah, I agree. I get very bolshy at this time of the competition, Ross, where I'm just like, okay, bring anyone on. Bring on your international, eh? You know, like, whatever. We'll take you 2 by 2 and we'll kick fuck out of you and all that. But the point is that I agree. And I think the teams that you desperately want to avoid, really, because I think they can just take a game away from you, is to counter the point we've made already. That's Park Atletico. Right now, I would be a little worried to play Bayern Munich and Man City in the next round because I don't think we're ready for them just yet. But I've had this inkling thing since the start of the season that I think the later you get them in the season, particularly because Bayern's league isn't a formality this year, provided Leipzig can just keep ticking over and keep the pressure on them, it means they have to keep the focus on that. And Bayern Munich have had less of a pre-season than us. Now, they've had far less, catastrophic injuries and what have you. But I've contended since the summer that it might benefit us in the European Cup in the later rounds, because if we can get to a semi-final, like ideally for me, Bayern Munich Liverpool as a Champions League final, the last 2 winners would be the stuff of dreams. And also for Klopp, a bit of a redemption arc there as well. But yeah, City and or Bayern at semi-finals or later, I just think that the cumulative fatigue thing might just give us a little bit of a better chance at that stage.
Possibly. It depends where we're up to in the league. By that token, if they're fighting for winning the championship, we're still fighting for top 4. It's the same thing. It's the firepower of Bayern Munich that frightens me. And why you're saying we're not ready for that. Had we had a full squad, I'd be like, I would be that in that thing of just bring anyone on. I'm fine with it. Whereas now, and this isn't a criticism of Kabak on that Phillips, and it's great that they did it against Leipzig, but it's a different kettle of fish when you're trying to do it against Manchester City and Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
Bayern Munich with the firepower and the European pedigree that they've got. Man City just with the firepower because they haven't got pedigree. But it's a different task. It's a different thing to ask, and I know it's over 2 legs, so you can change your tactics slightly for one of them. You can have a classic European away. You can try and do whatever. But I just think the momentum with those teams and the fact that they kind of know what they're doing. You mentioned Boateng and Alba at the back. Well, I think I'd rather have them at this point than I would Kabak and Phillips. And again, that's not a slight on them too. They've got the European experience. That Phillips only played 1 game in the Champions League. I know only got a clean sheet against Leipzig. They'll take that confidence into it. But I think it's just another level, and that's what frightens me. But again, they need to have these tests to make them better at the same time.
Yeah, it's that, isn't it? Any team's capable at this stage of the competition because they're all there on merit. No one's at this stage of the Champions League by luck. By the time you get into the quarterfinal draw, you're left with the best of the best, really. And for me, it's that thing of, if it is Kabak and Phillips who are still the centre halves, having had a handful more games played under their belt before they come up against the one of the 2 top teams in world football would help in that regard. And also, you get into a chance, you're entering a world where Henderson might not just be back, but he might be up to match sharpness as well by that point. And yeah, of course, you can never know what the squad's going to look like. But yeah, isn't it just
nice to be optimistic?
Yeah.
This is our job, really, and it's just like it's our role. The players won't be talking like this. The manager, maybe last season, because obviously they have to give the media spiel of, we take it a game at a time, and it's always we prepare for the next one. And last season they'll have struggled to do that, I think, a little bit because they were so far ahead, and they'd have been looking and getting excited. But this season they'll genuinely be doing that. It's our role to sit here and go, when are you booking your tickets to Istanbul? You know what I mean? Like, all of that stuff. Like, that's exactly what we're supposed to do. And it's been so difficult to do that since Christmas and plan for everything other than random away trips in the Europa League, because that sounds like it might be where it's heading. It might still do. Yeah. But as I said, it's our job to be able to sit here and be the positive outlook and be the optimism that, it's good for us, but it's also good for people listening. Just be like, fuck it, why not?
Yeah, 100%. That's what I'm saying. This is boss. This is like, that's what these last 2 wins have done, Liverpool have bought us 2 big games of football. So it doesn't matter really who we get in the draw, because even though we can go, if we got Atletico, that would be horrible. But let's be fair. We battered Atletico at Anfield in that second leg. We were let down by a moment or two of less than stellar goalkeeping in that regard. Now it'll be a different way. It's football. Over 2 legs, you can engineer wins in all kinds of mad and weird ways, as we've seen plenty of examples of that. But they've bought us 2 games to get excited about, and they've bought us a week of, who can we get in the draw? What does that mean? Let's work out. Let's do our road map to Istanbul, kind of stuff like this. Is brilliant. This is what it's all about. And in getting that win in the league, we're not quite there to dream about top 4. And top 4 is not a thing you dream about anyway. To be honest,
no,
it's minimum expectations met. I think if we do that, but it's back on the docket. It's back in the conversation of it's possible. You can start to look. And in fact, I was going to do it here, but we'll do it probably next week, of looking at our rivals for top 4 and look at what their fixtures look like, because I just had a cursory glance and it's quite nice in terms of a couple of them. You mentioned it a couple of times, Ben. So Scott Hawks with the super chat. Scott, thank you as always, you wonderful man. Great that the Brazilians are staying home, rest and work on the training ground for Bobby, Fab and Nat Phillips. And that's exactly what we talked about. Just that's the thing. It's a week now where the lad Klopp gets to do his favourite thing, and that's train and practice and do the really super intense things and get everyone up to speed. And don't be shocked if there's just 1 or 2. The team's not the same team when we play Arsenal, not just because of injuries, but because we've actually gotten someone else ready to go for this. It might be the game where Naby Keita gets unleashed from the start, and that's the start of something else. Do
you know what else would be helpful? If Alisson's wife gives birth during this break.
Yes.
That will just take away any worries I've fucking got about winning the Champions League quarter. Yeah. Honestly. Although she just give a curry for the next couple of weeks, whatever whatever those tricks are.
Alisson, do the business. You've got kids already. You know what I'm talking about. Just whatever it takes. Be the man your wife needs you to be for that spell of time, if you're not already. No, I agree. That's a good point that I hadn't considered, and now I'm really worried about it.
Listen to it. It would be really useful if she could just give birth over this next
year. It's not it. It's the baby. The baby's got to be ready.
Get a move on.
A lot of pressure on an unborn child, but whatever.
I hate to make it about me, but if you don't mind, just have a baby.
At least you've not tweeted her. Guys, can you just have you got? I don't know, just send them like a pack of pictures of like
Adrian, this is what we're going to be stuck with. Please just
It's birthing balls and pineapple.
What is the situation with Kelleher? Is he still injured or? Do we not know?
He was asked. Klopp was asked in the press conference whether everyone else was like available, and he said yes. So there was no, but he wasn't specifically expressly asked about Kelleher. And I also know Klopp doesn't. I just don't think he's that asked about goalkeepers. I think he's learned now because Alisson's so good that he can make a difference. But when you look at was it Weidenfeller who was the Dortmund goalkeeper, who was by no means the best goalkeeper in world football at the time. I think he's very much like, goalies do goalie things. They're really, they're just the fellas who shout and I kick things away for them, at the back. Look, let's hope it's just not an issue. Let's just hope Alisson is fine and all this kind of stuff. And to be honest, it's a different world. It's not like the De Gea thing where was his wife back in Spain, so he had to go back for it.
Yeah. And so obviously he got lucky there really because of, I think there's no restrictions coming back from Spain at the moment, are there? This is another thing, by the way, about maybe drawing Bayern Munich. That again, the German thing. Do you really want to be fanning about with another home?
Puskas Arena.
Well, I mean, the Premier League have changed it to our official home ground apparently this morning. But I know we've been making jokes about a home form at Anfield, but do you really want to take another trip to a neutral ground if you don't really need to? As far as we're concerned, maybe it's better getting somebody like Chelsea in that sense, and you don't have to travel very far. Wouldn't want Man City for that reason, but Chelsea I think are beatable.
I'm back up for another let's
vintage Champions League. Let's get Clive Tilsey on it.
Push gas all the way, mate. I just go to the Push Gas Arena all the way to the final, and then rock up at the Ataturk or whatever, and be laughing like, yeah, absolutely sound. Right, that's brilliant, guys. That is the podcast for this week. We're going to be doing another show tomorrow over on the RMTV.com. The Reds News Roundup will do a little bit more in depth about what it means for the players, who's going away on international duty, who's staying, and what that might look for us, and what in terms of what Liverpool can do over this break, and any other breaking news stories as well. In that time, we did a great chat last week about Koulibaly. The week before, it was on Varane, so there'll be some more of that stuff as well. So check that out on the RedmenTV.com from tomorrow afternoon. I mentioned earlier on in the podcast, there's a chance to win a signed Luis Suarez print. You not only get the chance to do that, but you also get access to an amazing depth of wonderful Liverpool-related content. Nearly pretty much stumbled there, but it's fine. We've got through, you know what I meant. The details on the competition are to follow. Thank you so much to Callum. Everyone go and check out Team Coppish, of course, on YouTube for him. Ross, everyone check out his wonderful work on our social media. And for Ben, go and check out his wonderful documentary, Liverpool Best at Let's Go 1 Year on the platform, the RedmenTV.com. And we'll see you next week for the podcast. Ta-ra. Hey everyone, mates here. Just want to let you know about a fantastic competition we have got running right now to win this incredible limited edition signed Luis Suarez print. To be in with a chance of winning that, all you have to do is sign up or upgrade your membership to a Club Legend tier on the RedmenTV.com, our exclusive Liverpool streaming platform. Not only that, but we have monthly competitions each and every month where you get to win prizes of this level, and in fact sometimes better as well, if you could even believe that. On top of that, you're going to get free merchandise, discount merchandise, and access to our exclusive Discord group, which is full of really, really nice human beings chatting about Liverpool and us as well. There's also a whole host of incredible content over on the website streaming right now. Documentary series, feature-length features, exclusive interviews with Liverpool legends past and present, and additional content in and around the match as well. So yes, get over there, sign up or upgrade your subscription now to Club Legend, and be in with a chance of winning the signed Luis Suarez print.